That's what I tell the kids, right? Make sure you get the information. What you think about it, that's up to you. What you're going to do with it, that'll soon be up to you. But make sure you get it. See, there's nothing worse than being stupid. Nothing. I mean, being broke is bad, but being stupid is awful. And what's really bad is being broke and stupid, right? That's about the end of the world. I mean, there isn't anything much worse than that. Unless you're sick. Sick, broken, stupid. I mean, that is it, right? There's nowhere else to go. So make sure you get the information. It's key. You don't have to like it, but learn it.
Some of the smartest shit I ever heard.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I am your host, Malachi Eggy. Welcome to episode 3 of the Idiot Philosophers. Today is Monday, November 19th. Yes, I had to check that. As always, joining me, co-host here, Oscar Camano. What's going on, man?
What's going on, everybody out there?
And coming from the back, Easy E, Ethan Eggy, as always.
It's good.
What's going on? And today, guys, we are joined by a special guest. We are very excited about this. I think you guys are really, really going to enjoy this interview and our time tonight. But joining us, some of you guys may know him from back in the day on Hot 93.7. But G Money, what's going on, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining.
It's different to be on this side of the interview.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this.
Absolutely. You had some pretty popular interviews back in the day. If you
yeah.
Pull up on the YouTube, you can find them.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun doing what I did. And don't make it seem like back in the day. Like
It's true. It wasn't that long ago.
Just a couple of months
yeah.
that,
You were on there for a long time, though.
Very long time.
What, 15 years?
I started as an intern in 2002 and then
Okay.
just worked my way all the way up from there. So I wasn't on the radio the whole time. I didn't even go there for radio. I was there doing promotions and marketing and all the street team stuff.
Okay.
And then they just, loved my personality and then taught me how to do the radio.
So that's where you started. You started in the promotions marketing side of it.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. I do field marketing and street marketing, similar to I see the ESPN guys all the time out there. So
there you go.
Very cool. That's awesome. So you started there, and then they just latched
It was
onto your
like,
personality,
their
or
personality. It was kind of funny, like going to like different events and things like that. Without even trying, people, pick me out, and like I just had a way of standing out. And then some of the higher ups was just like, we can't let his personality, his charm, the way people love him go to waste. So
Right.
I was the first and probably the only one being hired there with the on-the-spot training.
okay. And they,
Awesome.
what was your first job there after the marketing and the promotion side of it?
I was on their personality.
So
So,
just
but like I said, since I didn't have the training, since I really didn't know what I was doing, I was sitting there with, calling my twin. That's really my mentor, Kid Fresh. I was in there with him watching what he does, and then I started learning the board operation and things like that from Jenny Boom Boom, like legit.
Okay.
The people on
Yeah,
radio,
yeah.
legit sitting in the studio with them, and they're teaching me as they're doing it. I'm just sitting in the back taking notes and learning. And then they actually used to put me on from 3 in the morning to 6 in the morning.
Okay.
That was my first shift. I remember I used to street team. We used to do the club Hippodrome in Springfield back in the day.
Yeah.
I used to have to leave there, hurry up and leave there, drive all the way back to Farmington where the station was just to make it back in time to start my radio show at 3 a.m. And they said, hey, you know what? Ain't that many people listening at 3 in the morning, so
Somebody's got to do it.
you got to mess up. It's a perfect time to mess up.
Absolutely.
So that's how I learned. I did that for a couple of months, and then they gave me my own show, and then just took off from there.
Okay. And your spot on was what time frame?
Fridays, I had my party show. And that was, it changed so many times, but it was from midnight to 3 a.m.
Awesome.
That was really big. Really,
Gotcha.
really big.
That's when people are out.
Really, really big. Like, I would say top 10 on the East Coast for that time frame, and only losing to like cities that really don't sleep, like New York and Miami and places like that will only have more of a higher rating than we would at that particular time slot. So I did that for a very long time, to the point where they wouldn't let me, even though my DJs kept changing, they would not take me off. it was like too popular.
Yeah.
It was too much of a, statement show, especially what I did for, up and coming artists and, all the different aspects I put into the show. I started about 2005.
Gotcha.
On actually being on the radio. And then my last show was in February of 2018.
Gotcha. So for those listening, it's not that crazy to start, right? On the streets, out there as a street team doing promotions marketing to being the guy behind the mic. That jump there is.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you ever been working at a job and then they hire a manager from somewhere else? Yep. And then he can't even come in and he doesn't know the systems or the process or anything like that. You're like, how does this guy get the job? You know what I mean? Yeah. But the guy that came from the bottom and then made his way up because he worked hard and grinded, and everybody that's in there that has nothing to say, everybody respects it because they saw what you did, Mm-hmm. That was kind of like me, It was different because I didn't want it when they brought me the attention, like, hey, we want to put you on the radio. It was no for a long time. Like,
from you?
Yeah, from me.
Okay.
That's not what I came here to do. I'm having fun, being in the streets. Like, on the street team back then, you know what I mean? We was getting all the attention. We was going to all these different appearances. We was in the clubs, you know what I mean? Like, we just had a great time. The team, we were all over the place. And then it just got to a point where I was doing it so long, and I seen all these interns come in with that aspiration of being on the radio and never getting that shot. That's really what they went to school for. That's really what their dream is. And they're trying to hand it to me, and I'm just like, whatever, I don't even want it. You know what I mean? So then it started to click, like, man, if I don't even do it for myself, let me do it for all these other people that didn't get this opportunity. You know what I mean? Let me be the person to go in, and if I rock it, if I do a good job, then some of those people that do come in with that aspiration, they might get their chance next.
That's fantastic. What was your original goal? I mean, you said it wasn't to be behind the mic. What did you go into it with the expectation of doing long term?
Let's start from the beginning, right? So I went to college, and I played basketball. I went to Johnson & Wales University in Providence, and my major was sports and entertainment management. So my whole thing was, hey, 5'8", 150 pounds. I might not make it to the NBA, but at least I could work for the NBA. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was my whole goal. Even up to my senior year, I actually had my externship lined up with the NBA team. I thought everything was going to be wonderful. Up until about 2 weeks before graduation, when I was supposed to head out there, the apartment that they had for the incoming interns for the summer, the people that were leaving, they actually had a going away party and burned it down. Legit.
That's
like,
a good going away party.
Like the roof is on fire. For real. They actually burned the apartment down that we were supposed to stay in. So now everything, as you say, my opportunity went up in smoke. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they were like, hey, you can still come out here and do the internship, but we have no place for you to stay. You know what I mean? So if you could figure that out or whatever, it's too short notice. We don't have anything, but if you could figure it out. Well, unfortunately, I couldn't figure it out. And then coming back to Connecticut, we don't have really that many sports teams. And the little ones that we do, they already had everything already sold up. Because, like I said, it was 2 weeks prior to when it was supposed to start. But as funny as God works, I probably got that information maybe like a Tuesday. That Friday night, I just went out, like most college kids, went to the club and actually ran into a friend from back home here in Connecticut. And he was just randomly in a club in Providence. I'm like, yo, what you doing here? We started chopping up. And he was like, hey, man, that radio station back home that just came out? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I heard of it. He was like, I'm working here, man. And he was like, oh, if you need a job at the school, let me know. And I was like, hey, cool, man. I'm do radio. Yeah, thanks, though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then I went home and I thought about it. And I was like, man, all this time I was thinking about sports. Technically, radio is entertainment, right? So I went and I talked to my advisor, and I was like, hey, I know we don't have this as kind of like a topic or anything here, but can I do radio? Because he heard what happened, and he was like, man, you would be the first. That would be great. In fact, I want you to do it. You know what I mean? Try and see if you can make it happen. So called my guy up, and he actually got me the internship there at Hot 937, and that's how it started.
Absolutely.
So obviously going into it, I didn't even know what to expect, and I didn't have any goals.
Was this just out of curiosity? This wasn't unpaid, and so it was just time.
It was unpaid, but
time that you had to put in.
when I got in there, I'm like, man, we're like in clubs. I would have normally had to pay to get in here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now we're working, you know what I'm saying? And then like all these concerts, all the events, everything is like, yo, I'm a part of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't believe this is fun. After the summer internship was up, they offered me an actual job staying on a street team, being in the promotions department. So then I took that and kept it going as I found a full-time real job. So as I started doing that more, I wanted to be the boss. You know, I wanted to be the promotions director. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, hey, I love this promotions thing. Let me try and take this guy's job. You know, so as I kept doing that more, loving it more, that's when some of like the on-air talent, you know, started to take notice. Like, yo, who is this kid? You know what I mean? And then the bosses started to notice, like, who is this kid? And then it used to come to a point where the sales reps, they're the ones that actually set up appearances. And then they had clients calling them like, hey, if you're going to send a street team, hey, send that G-Money kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then they started to take notice, and then the word started to get around, and they're like, hey, we can't lose this kid. You know what I mean? So let's see if he wants to be on the radio.
That story is amazing.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know, just the takeaways from you not really knowing, you know, what you're getting into it something that just interested you, and then boom, the next thing you know, you got your own show. That's great.
Yeah, no, that's pretty amazing, man. And it's funny because like G Money was the face of all the young folks, you know, of that 15-year era, man. Like, you know,
I keep saying was, man. I mean, me feel old, man.
We're gonna get to why we're saying was and all that. So we're gonna warm up to that in a sec. But you know, it was just that time period where, you know, the radio stations were popping. You know, you had Wendy Williams at one point up here, and the whole like I was there in Craig G and all that in the club. Wendy Williams could suck my, you know, all that good stuff. Yeah, I was there for that one, man. You know, Wendy Williams got booted from Connecticut. You know, but G Money definitely had all the young folks, man. You know, coming up, the hottest stuff out there. But it's funny, man. You know, as you're telling the story, it's like, what was it about radio that you just didn't like at the time that you saw as, man, I don't want to do radio, like I want to do something else? So what did you have in mind to do other than radio that you kept kind of brushing it off?
Well, honestly, it was like being part of the street team, and like I said, always growing up playing sports. Like I said, I was just in college playing basketball. It was really a team, you know what I mean? So it was a weird group of us that came together, and we were always out there doing the promotions and doing all these different events, and I loved it. I loved the team. I didn't want to be separate from them, you know what I'm saying? I just enjoyed what we did, you know, wholeheartedly. Yeah. And then we kind of got it to the point where we were like cocky, like, we're the stars of the station. You know what I mean? You guys on the radio, whatever, y'all corny, y'all in the booth. Nobody knows who y'all are. We're the ones actually in the streets.
They know us.
You know, we're mixing with the people and having a good time and things like that. So that's kind of like the aspect and the view we had from, okay, y'all the radio personalities, y'all do what we do, but this is us.
Everyone knows us.
We out here in these streets. So it's not like I didn't want to do it. It was just like, nah, we good over here. Yeah, we good over here, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense, man. So you rocked with Hot 93 for damn near 15 years, a little over 15 years, on the radio on there now. You stopped working there in February of this year, 2018. Yes. So tell us about that. Was that something that you decided on? Was it time to move on? Was it just something that...
it was their decision.
Yeah. Cool.
So here's the thing. When I did accept working on the radio, when I said that, I promised myself two things, right? If I start doing this, I'm going to do it. But like I said, I'm going to open the doors for a lot of other people, right? So like I said, if I wanted to do this, I wanted to rock it out, and then other interns behind me, they could come up and get their chance as well. I made that happen. I mean, from your Erica Lynn's to your Vezzies to, you know, Joey Franchise to DJ Michi, to anybody that I let you really hear on the radio, you know, they pretty much all started in the promotions and the street team as well.
I remember a little bit, you know, I don't listen to a ton of Hot 93.7 anymore. Right. I used to listen. That was all I listened to because it was before the days of Spotify and all the streaming services, right? So I actually remember when some of this was happening because I remember like the beginning of DJ Michi. Like I remember when he started to come on, and I I wasn't out listening to it that late at night that often, but when I was like, that was the best music that was on the radio. So it's just funny hearing this from the other side of it. Like I remember him his first couple times on, and so
then that's good. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I accomplished that goal. And then, other things that I wanted to do is, help other people in their positions. And one thing that I see that was struggling out here in Connecticut was the music scene. Right. You know what I mean? Nightlife was great. The radio was great. There's so many things that's really going, but we didn't have anybody from Connecticut. Like in sports. In sports, we have great representation, and professionals. But not in music for some reason. Right. So I've seen so many artists have such a problem with Hot 937 in that regard. Right. So, I went to them and I'm like, hey, you big guys, you don't have time for this. You Craig G's, you DJ Bugs, y'all don't have time to deal with, these local little things that's going on. Let me be the face of that, Let me grab that by the reins, get everybody in. Let me start something for them, and then let's see what this come about, So I started a show. It was called the Friday Night Spotlight. So every Friday night, what I did is I brought in a different artist, interviewed them like you guys are doing me, and then played like their music as well. So they had a half-hour spotlight to themselves on Hot 937. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was the biggest thing, to come to the state, and it blew up, and everybody went crazy.
And you had complete say. Hot 937 couldn't deny anybody. It was just you say they're good, they're coming on.
Well, Buck is the program director. Yeah. He was the boss of everything on air, and he would be like, hey, let me know who you got coming up on air. Yeah, sure.
Okay, gotcha.
Whatever, you know what I mean? But pretty much I'll just send him a list of some artists I have in mind, and he's going to okay
He's not doing the back end work.
He
trusts you.
So he knows that I know what he's looking for and the quality that both of us are looking for, so that we're not just putting trash on air just to fill, airtime.
Some airtime on there. Now, what year did you start doing the Friday Night Spotlight?
Ooh, 2010.
10.
Yeah.
Now, what do you think? Because these are a lot of things that you hear all the time, and I know a ton of guys in music here in Connecticut. I was involved in music years back, for a while. What do you think was, like the disconnect from the guys that were at the radio at the time to not give these guys from Connecticut, a 2-minute airplay, or kind of to put them on like New York does, or like Atlanta does, or like LA does? What do you think was the disconnect with them? Was it that they were just trying to do other things with the radio? They were doing other things, or just didn't want to be involved with it?
Well, here's the thing, right? The only disconnect was the artists in Connecticut not really understanding how radio works. Hot 937 is not your local just runabout, radio station that can just do what they want. Right. They're at that time owned by CBS Radio. Mm-hmm. So, even though Buck was the boss of Hot 937, there's 4 radio stations in CBS Radio right here in Connecticut. You know what I mean? So then he has the boss. So even if I run an idea by him, he has to run that idea by the boss of the building of all 4 stations. Then she has to go up and run that idea to the people up there in New York in the CBS building and things like that. So it's just not like
it's a big process, and
a local radio station that just popped out of nowhere. You know what I mean? This is big commercial radio. So we say 18 GMs in a row, to correct that 18 GMs in a row that are filled basically by major artists from major labels. How can we justify, local joker, you know what I'm saying? And your crappy music that you made in your crappy studio to go up against Chris Brown, Rihanna, Jay-Z, things like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So what we had to make them understand is this is how radio works. You know what I mean? This is what programming is called. You know what I mean? This is how programming gets filled. This is who does it. You know what I mean? And then once they get the education and the knowledge of how radio works, you can just understand that, oh, you know what? If you got all this you have to do, it doesn't leave that much time to take care of the actual local artist. So you're saying, Atlanta does it. Yes, Atlanta does it. But guess what? We're playing those same artists that Atlanta's playing. So it might be local artists to them, but they're national artists. You know what I mean? New York, we play 50 Cent just like they do. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily local artists as they are national artists. There's a lot of artists, French Montana and Max B, that actually got played in Connecticut first before they got played in New York.
Yeah, that had a big presence out there.
You know what I mean? So it's smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean? A lot of people like to point to, Atlanta, New York, which they should. LA, as you mentioned, Chicago, as you mentioned, but those markets, that were mentioned are our top 10 markets, and they understand the business, and those artists are bigger. And then usually when they get played on the radio, that's because they have taken off or on their way to really taking off the start.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I agree with that too. I mean, a lot of those guys are part of. It might be a smaller label considered to everybody, but they have their shit together. They know what they need to do, and I think that was. A major.
You just swore.
It's a podcast, man. Let's go.
You're right, man. So this is commercial radio. I'm so trained, man. I forgot.
Hey,
God damn it!
Hey, listen. Hey, G. Buck's not in the next room, man. You can curse.
You're allowed to say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
You see me looking over my shoulder and shit like
Nah, man. But I think that was the biggest issue here in Connecticut is that one. I mean, there are no labels in Connecticut that are partaking with any major labels. And two, there's just no education, right? And that's the biggest thing. And then you see these guys that will complain and they'll be like, man, fuck these guys, or fuck these DJs, fuck the radio. And then when you look at it, and for people to hear this and say, well, listen, we were part of CBS Radio. Like, I mean, what the fuck? I mean, this is CBS Radio. So being able for people to hear that and understand and say, hey, all right, cool. So if you understand that now, and it's not just, G Money being able to, at the time take your CD and pop it in, there is a process. So what would you say, G, to like some people out there now in today's market that are looking to get on the radio? What are things that they should do? What are steps they should take where they can present, their music to a radio station like Hot 93 and not just get a, hey, no, we're not going to play your shit because the format's wrong?
Continue to educate yourself. The one thing that we did, after I did the Friday Night Spotlight for probably about 5 years, the next thing that I did is, as you start to run the well starts to run dry after 5 years of, like, how many local artists do you really have that are that talented that deserve to be interviewed on the radio? You know what I mean? So after that, we started to switch it up as we saw the ratings were going down. People are losing interest in, like, oh, here's another interview of a local guy, things like that. So that's a bad mind frame here in Connecticut for some reason. When you say the word local artist, it's actually a negative thing here, which is kind of weird. But so we kind of caught on to that. So I was like, yo, you know what? Just get rid of the Friday Night Spotlight thing, right? There's not that many artists that are that interesting to hold people's attention for a half hour. So, you know what? We're going to switch it up and make it a mix show. People love mix shows on Hot 937. That's why you love Trey G, DJ Rex, Billy Bush. You know what I mean? Right. DJ Hawk. That's why you love those guys, and you love those mix shows because it's just a free flow of music, and it's high tempo, and you feel like you dance party. Right. Why can't we do that with Connecticut artists? So what we did is we switched it up. Once DJ Michi became my DJ, we started something called the Up Next Show. So we took the same concept of showing love to artists. We got rid of the whole half-hour thing. We got rid of the interviews, you know what I mean? And what we did is we took some of the hottest artists, some of the best artists out here in Connecticut, and we put their music and we put it in a mix show, right? So now when you turn the radio on at 12 o'clock, you don't know the song that's playing, you know what I mean? But it sounds great, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you went from song to song to song, and like, man, I don't know these joints, but it sounds wonderful. Good, You know what I mean? You scratch and mix it, and you blend it. You guys have a high, energy when we're talking and we're introducing, and then you listen to us speak, and we say, yes, that artist from Connecticut right there, his name is Annoyed. That was lucky. Da da da. You know what I mean? Like, we were the first ones to play all these artists that are doing really great right now. You know what I mean? And that's because we started to change the mind frame around here. And then we really took some of the artists that are doing really well that we thought were on their way, and we really started to educate and start with them. Right. And then once we got them on the way, they could help spread the word, but yet we can tell people how to get on this mix show. Right. And we made them do 3 things, to finish answer your question, what could they do? Let me answer that correctly. 1, have your music mastered. Like I said, even if you are recording in your bathroom, you know what I mean? As of right now with technology, where you record, that's not even the biggest thing anymore. Right. You know what I mean? You can sit here on your cell phone and really record it all you want. Right. As long as you're sending it to a studio, to a professional, to an engineer that can master it for you. Right. All right? Like I said, you're going up against heavyweights that have $1 million studios that they're recruiting in. At least do everything you can to have that same sound quality they can. All right? Second thing you want to do is get your music registered. All right? What I mean by that, there's things called like media base and things like that. Send your music off to them. have them register it. What that means is that now every time your record is played on a commercial radio station or anything that reports to BDS, you actually get credit for your spins. Okay? Then obviously that goes to ASCAP and you get paid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's how you become professional.
Right.
You know, by knowing those legal things and having that side of the business done as well for your music.
Right.
All right? And then, you know, last but not least is knowing how to present it and send it to somebody. Right now, everything is digital. Right? Before, early 2000s, late 2000s, everything was on a CD.
Right.
So sending me an email with just your MP3 attached and nothing else is the equivalent of just handing me a blank CD.
Right.
In other words, yeah, we can swear now. What the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? How am I supposed to remember this is you? How am I supposed to know where I met you? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like this.
Who you are, yeah.
Pretty much that shit is a frisbee. You know what I'm saying? As soon as you walk away, that's right out the fucking window. You know what I mean? So that's the same thing nowadays. You know what I mean? If you are blindly sending your music to somebody, and I say blindly because, you know, you might not, you know, have an actual personal relationship with them, you have to... It's like applying for a job, you know what I mean? You have to present yourself in the right way. If you don't know what the letters EPK stands for, you know what I'm saying? Google that right now and fix that and get your stuff together. Right. So when you send off your music, you know, even if I don't know who you are, if I open up your email, you know what I mean? I get to see who you are right there because you have your bio, you have pictures, you have your song, you know what I mean? You have links to some videos and things like that. That if I want to take the time to really get to know who you are, I get to do that in that email, you know what I mean? And it looks so much better. Then open up an email, just don't see anything in there but an attachment. You know what I'm saying? No. Man, what's this, man? It's like music anthrax. Like, I ain't opening this shit. You know what I'm saying?
I wanted to go back to something you said a little bit earlier because it was actually something I had written down to ask. You know, you mentioned that the local artist, that phrase in Connecticut can sometimes have a negative connotation. What is it with Connecticut? And I know you mentioned that it's changing somewhat, but does it have to do with the fact that it's, you know, between New York and Boston, and it's saying you're a local artist from Connecticut? You know, I guess people don't think about a bunch of
haters in Connecticut.
People don't think about Connecticut as the hard streets where, you know, underground hip hop comes from.
There's no unity in Connecticut. Yeah.
Well, I think it's just that negative connotation, like your music is only for where you're from. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like we joke and say that all the time, like, hey, stop making music for your block. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is an international game now. You know what I'm saying? And when you say that you're local, that just pretty much puts you in a shell. Right. You know what I mean? Or some invisible barriers around you saying, like, hey, you're only in Connecticut. Right. You know what I mean? You're not known nationwide. You're not known up and down the East Coast. They don't know you overseas. You know what I mean? Yeah. You are local.
And a lot of people, you know, a lot of listeners would take something like that and say, I don't want to hear this, man. I mean, you know, put on some Hove, man, or put on whatever. You know what I mean?
Local guy. You know what I mean? So it kind of got like a negative thing about it. But I used to tell artists myself, like, hey, don't look at that as a negative word. Like, technically, I'm a local radio personality. You know what I mean? I'm known on Hot 937. I'm not Sway. You know what I mean? I'm not Andrew Martinez or, you know, Funk Flex or anything where you could say their name and everybody's going to know them around. I'm not Ryan Seacrest or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, I host things in Connecticut. I'm not, you know what I mean?
People like to shit on Connecticut too for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. 84 is not nice to sit on, but come on.
Especially in Waterbury.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, anytime of day, man. Right. Something's got to happen over there, man. Construction for like the last 25 years. What are you building? Like, we want to know.
Nothing.
So yeah, so just to recap that, man, and this is important because I get a lot of people that, you know, I've heard for years just complaining about, you know, the radio and, you know, how the radio doesn't help out and all that. So you guys, you hear it here, man, is, you know, get your shit together. You know, if you're gonna present anything, and you're trying to be an artist or you're trying to be somebody that is you know, wants to be heard everywhere, wants to get signed or make millions of dollars, you know, you have to put $1 million project together. Invest in yourself. You know, how many guys, you know, you've seen a ton of them that say, hey, man, you know, I'm hot, I'm this, but they won't spend $50, you know, for a mixtape art, you know, for graphics. Like, come on, bro. Like, you can't put this together with you know, Microsoft Paint. You have to, you know, upgrade yourself, make yourself look good. How many guys when you see out there that say, hey, man, I just recorded this, I mixed and mastered it myself because I saw 2 YouTube videos that show me how to master. It's like, no, man, you got to invest that. And it's not that expensive. If you think you got some talent, if you think you're hot, and you got a decent following or whatever the case may be, dude, spend the $300-400, put it out there. And nowadays, you know, shit goes viral, man. Like, you never know. Like, might just be that hit record.
You know what? Can I stop you right there? And I'm going to go back to something that you said, Malachi. He said, you know, I don't listen to Hot 937 as much as I used to because now you have Spotify. Now you have streaming services. Now you can jump on YouTube. Can anybody tell me how Justin Bieber got discovered? YouTube.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Bobby Smurder. You know what I mean? He had a video out there where he threw his hat in the sky. You know what I mean? And everybody laughed about it. And they thought it was just some weird video, like a meme or something like that. And then it turns out that was a real song. And it was hot and things like that. And his life just changed like that because it went viral on social media. You know what I mean?
That was going to be something that I wanted to bring up is how has that changed the game for people? Because now I know a lot of local artists that I'm fans of that I find or I've found through social media. You know, people who post stuff regular basis. They're out there, they're playing, they're touring, they're doing, even if they're small time, you find them through social media. And then you can, boom, jump on Apple Music and listen to their stuff. You can jump on Spotify and listen to their stuff. Has that changed, you know, the nature of even people wanting to be on the radio? Is it a big desire to be on the radio anymore? Or are they more moving, are artists moving to, hey, we don't care about that. We more care about getting our stuff on YouTube and getting our stuff on Apple Music. And
definitely. I mean, that's where it should be. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If I was an upcoming artist, I would feel like this. I would feel like, I used to always tell artists around Connecticut, like, think of Hot 937 as like the NBA. You know what I mean? Like, only the best of the best, and you know what I mean? Like, there's a million people that play basketball, but only the small fragment of the best is really going to make it to the NBA. And only the million artists here in Connecticut, and especially around the world, there's only going to be a small fragment that actually make it to the radio. You know what I mean? But does that mean that people stop playing basketball because they're not going to make it? No, we still play in the playgrounds. We still play high school. You know what I mean? JV, varsity. You know what I mean? Go college, D1, D2, D3. You know, you can't make the NBA, so they go play pro overseas and things like that. So just when I say that, realize how many different opportunities there are to make money in music, even if you wanted to do that, to make money in it, or to just, you know, say, hey, I love making music and I just want to put it out there. You know what I mean? There's so many opportunities from social media to YouTube to, you know, name it. You know what I mean? And it really is out there.
Where's the money these days? Because from my understanding, anyway, a lot of the artists, unless they own their own records and their own rights, they don't make money on the streaming services. That's why, you know, Taylor Swift and some of these huge artists started to pull their stuff because they're not getting paid off of it.
Yeah,
so
we're,
like a
million spins just to get $1.
Yeah,
so
it's some guy on Twitter just posted his, I forget who it is, a real big artist, just posted his what he makes off of his, you know, $2 million streams a day, and he's getting like $24 or something for it.
Exactly.
So
it really is silly. You
know,
what I mean?
where is the money for the artists?
Touring. Doing shows, and that's why you see some of your favorite artists go on really long tours and they're always touring and things like that because, you know, that's the only thing that you can control. You know what I mean? You can set your price for, you know, how much you get paid for it, you know, and then, you know, goes there, and there's not anybody with their hands out. You know, you pay the people to be in or whatever you got to do, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's your money. When you're signed to a major label and you cut an album, you have to pay them back for studio time. You have to pay them back for everything that they put into your promotion. Everything that they put into your album goes to them first. And then whatever couple of dollars is left over is yours. You know what I mean? Yeah. But that costs money. You know what I mean? Doing those shows.
Control
that's
the merch. Control the ticket prices.
Was at Wiz Khalifa, man. And a lot of guys that are doing music should study this guy, man, because that's a majority of his success was touring. And I mean, the kid was making like $3 million a year or something like that. Just off touring the country, and this is before he really popped.
Before people really knew he was.
And he was just touring all over the country.
I remember he was the first time he was coming to Toll's place, and everybody was calling my phone. Like, I'm like, oh, excuse me for asking, who the fuck is Wiz Khalifa? Why do y'all keep calling me about this kid? You know what I mean? It was right before Black and Yellow came out.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't even out yet before, and that's when he really started to take off and become a popular name. But I'm like, who is this kid? And the same thing with Tech Nine. Like,
no.
Who the hell what the fuck is a Tech Nine? Like, I know what one is. I own that.
I still don't
know
what
what
Tech Nine is.
There's a rapper called Tech Nine, you know. So that's it, man. And it's
Wait,
so
he's
crazy.
the guy. He's the guy with the 69 tattoos, tattooed 69 times on himself.
No.
No.
Please,
That's 6ix9ine.
Please don't confuse
Different guy.
those two. He'll be so mad.
Different
You
guy.
better hope he doesn't come across this
Right.
goddamn interview. I know that. No, man, but
I'm
he's
just
like,
kidding.
if you had to rank, underground
Yeah,
artists
yeah.
that really came up by touring and doing their thing. The first person that they say is
Yeah.
Tech9. Like, yeah, he's dope. You know what I mean? And he came up kind of that way. And think about, let's keep it Connecticut. Think about Chris Webby. You know what I mean? And I like to use him as a reference. I'm like, yo, he's out there touring. Like, he just got done with a tour. Like, you know what I mean? Every time he drops an album, he's on tour again doing his thing. Yep. And we don't play him on Hot 937. Like, he's not worried about us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
There's always a way to make it happen without having to make it to the NBA, quote unquote, and be on radio. Now, when you are the man and everybody is checking for you and your name is so big, like once we figured out who Wiz Khalifa was and things like that, now every time he drops a song, we gotta have it because everybody's gonna go crazy for it. You know what I mean? So let's hope the radio comes along. You know what I'm saying? Let's put that to the back. You know what I mean? But let's focus on how to reach the people. Right. And there's a million ways to reach the people right now. It's not 1985. You know what I mean? It's not everybody sitting at their radio, you know what I mean, with the family dinner and the broadcast going on in the back. You know what I mean? So,
And I think it's even easier now. And I had a conversation with a buddy of mine who's into music, and I told him, dude, why don't you go, drive down to New York or drive down to New Haven, Connecticut, that has great open mics on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Because the great thing about social media, man, and this is another confusion too, right? People get so stuck on social media, they think they can make it by just, recording themselves at home for 2 hours and just hitting, sending links to everybody for 10 hours. And it's like, the best thing about social media is that you can go to an open mic of, 40, 50, 60 people, but there's a way to retain those 60 people by saying, hey, man, look, log into my thing and subscribe right now, right? So now you can have these instant fans, that have their own network that are going to spread it out. But having that connection, man, and that interaction and being able to perform live and talk to people, I think that's still the best way to gain fans.
That you brought that up. That's actually the bad thing about how easy it is nowadays, that people get stuck forgetting that there's a million other people that want to do what you do. You still got to put in a lot of hard work to this thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And social media has made everything so lazy where they think they could just record a song in their bathroom and then put it out.
Sure.
Like, no, man, you still representing yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you still got to have, as I mentioned before, a nice little process and a plan. And you know what I mean? That's the difference between an artist that gets it or a professional artist or one that's on their way compared to a guy that's just like, hey, I got a couple of fans. I just made this song. Let me throw it out. You know what I mean? That's not really how
and
you
that's
should
it.
do it.
It's like a mixtape every 2 weeks, and then it's like, dude, you still got like 47 views.
Well, what's funny about the internet is that it has such a it can have such a viral success in a positive direction, but who could name what meme was hot last summer in June? Nobody cares anymore. Right. So it has the exact, you get famous for one rap that you did on, on a video in your bathroom, like you said, but then 2 weeks later nobody even remembers it because it's not hot anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Without
so much
that
going
content,
on.
Constant increase in content, producing more and more.
Yeah.
It's gone.
So much going on, man. It's like social media just makes you ADD-ish.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't stop. It's like YouTube, man. It's like you're watching a video about a guy punching a guy in the face, and then 3 videos later, it's like, police officer parachuting off a fucking airplane in Afghanistan. You're like, what the fuck?
I don't know how you even get over
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, geez, I'm across the world in 3 videos. This is nuts. Yeah, man, but that happens. So going back, I mean, and that's just for the artists, man, for you guys that are listening in Connecticut. We just want to kind of throw that little tidbit in there for you. But I just want to get down and back to you, G, man. And so, I mean, you've been rocking with the radio for 15 years plus. Hot 93.7, had one of the hottest shows out there for them. Seems like the same program directors and folks that were around since your inception. So what changed, man, 15 years later for them to just say, you know what, man, we don't want you on the radio anymore, or we don't want that part of the radio?
Honestly, it was an incident that happened. And as I was explaining, I do a lot for the artists. And, even while still being on the radio, I was preaching a lot about, you should be doing this. And as you said, we should be out performing and doing different things. So I would always put these shows together in different opportunities. So I put a show together which actually led artists to be going out to New York to perform for DJ Self. All right? So I had 7 artists. They had went out there. One of the artists didn't like the way that it went, and pretty much he didn't do good. You know what I mean?
Right.
He didn't win. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, there's always that one, rotten crabapple artist that didn't win or now is going to put a negative spin on, everything that we try to do. So he went on social media, Facebook Live, and, just pretty much aired out the event and tried to throw me under the bus and air me out as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? So obviously me being who I am, I go on live video myself and I respond. You know what I mean? So, and I set the record straight, like, hey, look, this is not how it went. Check with the other artists that were a part of it and see what they say, or anybody that had to do with it. This is just one guy, unfortunately, that didn't win, and now he's, trying to put mud on my name. You know what I mean? Right. So that goes on. I get a call from, the bosses, Buck and all this, like, hey, what's going on? Because not only is he dogging me, he's dogging the radio station and everything that has anything to do with it. So now I have to answer to that BS. I come in the office, I show him everything, like, hey, this is not what it is. This dude is just whatever. You know what I'm saying? So that's cool. All the while, they're like making memes about me, you know what I'm saying? Like doing all this funny stuff, and you know what I mean? I'm taking a high road. Right. And just ignoring everything, against my better will. But I know I represent more than myself. I represent the station and everything else. So I'm like, all right, I'll let them have fun with it, whatever.
And these were artists from Connecticut?
Yeah, they're from Waterbury. So, now, like I just said, they're from Waterbury, right? So now, all that's going on throughout the week. This is a Saturday now. I actually have an event in Bridgeport that I went way down to Bridgeport to go host. You know what I mean? It was actually an R&B show, So think, rappers from Waterbury drove all the way down to Bridgeport to a club that I'm going to be at. Right. You know what I mean? To go see an R&B group perform. What's the chance? What's the likelihood? You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I see them and I'm like, oh, here we go. You know what I'm saying? Yep. But, I got my guys with me too. So, I go up to him and I'm like, oh, it's the funny guys, da-da-da, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I saw all the little memes and things like that. That was cute, you know what I'm saying? Da-da-da, what up? You know what I mean? You had a lot to say on computer. I'm right here, you know what I mean? Right. Tell me to my face, you know what I'm saying, what's going on and stuff. And they ain't have anything to say. Well, it came into a commotion, but the people that are with didn't, like what they did. And, being from Hartford, I think you guys might know how that ended out. Right. They took care of that situation for me, let's just say, right? Yep. Right? So, there they go again talking. And then they went on like Twitter and, Facebook, all type of social media. But, they contacted me, Buck, the bosses at Hot 937, even up to CBS Radio, which they don't even own Hot 937 anymore. Now it's Intercom, you know what I mean? Yeah. And that purchase just went through, you know what I'm saying? So this is like January when this happened. I would say the purchase probably happened like this time last year, like in November. So they just spent all the billions of dollars to overtake CBS Radio. And now here's a guy from Hot 937 in small Hartford, Connecticut, a small radio station that's now getting threatened to sue Intercom, Hot 937, sue me, all this stuff like that. So, obviously they weren't too happy about it. And
so these guys came down, they, started their social media gangster stuff. And then when it got something real gangster happened. Yeah. And then they started talking lawsuits and
no offense, but then they turned into old Caucasian ladies. Yeah. They tried to press the sue button. You know what I mean? Like, I'm calling my lawyer. Things like that. So when you're a part-time employee at any job, if you're putting them in a potential position to be in a lawsuit, things like that. They
got to cut ties and they got to do the.
I wouldn't even lie. Like I'm not worth it. You know what I mean? For somebody like a corporation. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? Like so, they had to cut the ties and things. So it wasn't. So just say this: it wasn't a local decision. Still have a great relationship with Buck and every single person at the radio station is like no difference at all.
So they just got stuck in that grimy corporate,
anything that they could do, and they went to bat and they tried everything to try to get me to stay. And like I said, I went in there and I presented everything. But when it became a physical, confrontation, even though I didn't myself put one hand on anybody, and everybody from the club owner to the security to anything all went to bat for me, saying like. This happened outside. He was still in the club when it happened. You know what I mean? It was still
So that involvement and
So, you know what I mean? Even though it's bad that I'm not at a place that I've been since 2002, you know what I mean? I am proud to say that, it's not a negative thing where, you know what I mean? Like, they're trying to, like, say, oh, like they're trying to erase G Money. You know what I mean? Like, Hot 937 in Hartford, like in Connecticut and stuff like that, it's still love. It was just happened to be like a big corporate thing where the people that don't even know me were like, hey, who's this part-time guy that's getting us in the lawsuit? Get rid of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's that corporate bullshit, man. It becomes a number, becomes a, and it is what it is.
And there's some DJs that you guys know and things like that are no longer on the radio, and it's because of some other things like that. No, it wasn't physical. I mean, some other DJs played one dirty record, and they've been there since the beginning of the time. It's one dirty record, but one dirty record could mean the biggest fines from the FCC. So, you know what I mean? They had to let them go. You know what I'm saying? One of the big guys, if you think about it, like some of those names, like you used to hear every single day on the radio, not there anymore, and it's because of that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So sometimes, and what I tell you, like, it's not a local station. Our decisions are really not made in Hartford, Connecticut. You know what I mean? Right. So even if Buck is like, hey, don't even worry about it, I'm going to take care of it, things like that. Yeah, well, it's probably 6 people over his head that really makes the decisions. You know what I mean? Right. So, and that's what happened with that. But like I said, I mean, name it, and we're still close.
Absolutely.
Still talk to, most of them if not every day, every week. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's still definitely family there, but just unfortunately,
So what's the future got in store for you? What have you been doing since then?
You know what? It's been great. You know what I mean? Like, and I didn't think I miss it. Let's not even lie about that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm enjoying the break. It all happened. Like I said, it happened in February, but my son was born in February as well.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Congratulations.
So, thanks so much. And you know what I mean? I've been having all this time that you forget how much time you really put into something, right. How much time it really takes out of your life. You know what I mean? Right. Like being on the radio, and then because you're a part of the radio, now you got to be involved with this event and always be here and there and representing yourself and them. And now I'm like, I do the fuck I want. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to on Friday nights be on the radio at midnight to 3 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, I can sleep. Like, it's wonderful. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And, all that stuff, and be with my kids, and not have to worry about it. So I've been enjoying the break, but I think it's about time that I really start looking into some other things.
Absolutely.
And what I think I want to do is not even trying to look for another big station.
Yep.
I actually want to probably focus on a small station, maybe like an internet radio station or somebody with an app. And the reason why I want to do that is to let even artists and everybody else know, like, yo, you don't have to downplay anybody. Like, like this podcast, somebody can be like, yo, you're not on Drink Tramps or something like that, stuff like that. I'm like, nah, these my boys, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You tune into them. They doing something big here in Connecticut, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep the focus here. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's talent everywhere. There's talent in this room right now, aside from me. Like, okay, I'm the radio guy from Hot 937, so what? But Malachi, you know what I'm saying? Easy E over here, you know what I'm saying? He's the future, you know what I'm saying? Get to know him right now, you know what I mean? My man Oz, this has been my man for a long time, you know what I'm saying? Like, get to know these guys, you know what I mean? Yeah. What is it, the idiot philosophers,
that's
man?
Right.
Yeah, philosophers,
that's
man.
us.
Man. Yeah, and that's one of the things, too, man. Like, there was a point of us doing this pod, too, man, was that there's so much talent in Connecticut in all different fields. I mean, not just like music. I mean, there's just a shitload of talent out here in business, in sports, in music. And to shine that light where nobody else is shining it, man, and being able to broadcast that, I mean, we got guys that are coming down. We got gmoneydaprince here, where somebody in Chicago or Cleveland or whatever might say, "Who the hell is that guy?" We know who he is because he's a local celebrity.
Get to know me, baby. I'm all right.
So we get to put that out there, man. And like I had somebody hit me up and they're like, "Yeah, man, I'm from New York," and I'm like, "Yeah, I feel you, man, but I can't have you on my pod right now." Because we're booked out all the way with people from Connecticut that are doing fantastic things. Yeah. And I mean, aside from like G Money and he was doing the radio thing and don't be afraid, man. I know he says get sleep before 3 a.m. Hit the guy up, man. Get him out there to promote. He's got a ton of DJs under him.
I have a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old. Trust me, good chance I'm up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And then you have so bring on to that point, man. So you got your own company, your entertainment company.
Yeah.
And you have a few DJs working with you on there that are still on the radio.
Yeah.
And are still rocking here in Connecticut. So tell us a little bit about that. Tell people about that.
Like I said, I mean, what did I want to do? I wanted to open up opportunities for other interns to get on the radio. I wanted to be the guy that was like the gateway for local artists to get on the radio. I did that. Another thing I wanted to do is, being on the street team, going back from then, I saw how things were being ran by the promoters and things like that. Well, I got to a point where I'm like, why am I hosting these clubs for all these people and making them money when everybody's in here for me? You know what I'm saying? Me and the DJ or things like that. So I was like, I brought them together. I was like, hey, look, us crew right here,
Gotta monetize.
let's get together. You know what I'm saying? And why don't we just do it ourselves?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, I called the company. It was Money Nem. It's kind of funny because my mother's side of the family is originally from Georgia. Mm-hmm. So I had my Uncle Danny. God bless his soul. And he used to always joke. He was down there in Atlanta, and he used to be like, oh, you know what? When I come up there to Connecticut, well, I'm going to the club. But you ever had like an old country person just joke with you, like one of your elders, and like, oh, y'all young boys don't know how to do it. I'm come up there and show you how it's done. You know what I mean? And I was like, man, how you going to get in? You don't even know where I'm at. And then he used to say, man, I know you the man up there in Connecticut. All I got to do is go up there and say, hey, I'm with Money now. And I was like, holy shit, that sticks. Like, that's it, you know what I mean? So I actually got that from my Uncle Danny, God bless his soul. And that's what he said, like, because my name is G Money. So he was like, but, a country way of saying something and them, they just make it into one word, say Nem. You know what I'm saying? Nem is and them. You know what I'm saying? So he was like, I'm just talking with G Money Nem. You know what I mean? So Money Nem, especially because I started with my partner, Money Mike, you know what I mean? And I gave him that name, Money Mike. So I'm G Money, he's Money Mike. We started together, so we call it Money Nem, you know what I'm saying? And then we needed, obviously, a DJ, so, my person I was on the radio with at that time, probably the person I'm closest with was DJ Rex, you know what I'm saying? So, he was the first one to jump on board. And then, as, different interns came into the building, obviously, I still had my hand in helping them out and things. And then I noticed this young kid who was real vibrant, you know what I mean, hungry, and just kind of reminded me of myself, you know what I mean, with the work ethic and, you know what I'm saying, just one of those don't say no to anything type of people. And his name is DJ Michi, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, yeah, man, you got to come under my wing, you know what I'm saying? So it got to a point where anything that anybody asked me to do, whether it was host a step show at UConn or, you know what I'm saying, just anything, be in a club, just, even a community event for free or anything like that. And I'm like, who's your DJ? Or get rid of him. I got this kid, DJ Michi. And I was like, everything that I did, he has to do. You know what I mean? So I kind of put him on my wing, and then it kind of like what Kid Fresh did to me. You know what I mean? Just from everything. If we was driving to a club together, he was like schooling me the whole time. You know what I mean? Just from picking me up to get into the club, you know what I mean, to partying together, just always schooling me. And I was like, I have to do that for somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, that's my whole thing. And then just kind of turns out I did it for a couple of people. From Rex, from Michi to Ricky Tan, who actually made it on the radio. Now he's down in Florida doing his thing. Joey Franchise, now doing his thing. He's in Florida doing his thing. So, you know what I mean? I got a new guy, DJ Hurricane. I'm helping him out. So it was just my passion to, that's how I am, man. I don't know what it is. I'm just always trying to use the gift that God gave me, and the opportunity just to help others.
What's the best place and the easiest way for people to find you guys and find your organization if they want to?
A lot of us, all DJs, are all doing our things individually. We don't have like one spot that we used to party and promote at, because obviously I think what the club scene is like in Hartford now. So, but one thing that we are focusing on is, back from my love of helping local artists, is our showcase. I run a series called the Sunday Supper Showcase. Okay. Actually, just got back from Houston. Friday. So, you know what I mean? I'm taking artists and I'm not playing with it, man. I'm really taking them all over the world. Like, I do shows here, obviously, but I do a lot of shows where I'm taking them. Like, they got to understand, like, social media is not everything. Right. You really got to get out there to these different places and make it happen. Right. The next big show that we're doing is Super Bowl is in Atlanta this year. So we actually got a couple of shows Super Bowl weekend in Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not playing. Like, artists, this is how you make it. Like, you can't just sit behind your computer like a little nerd. Hey, I just made a song. Like, it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? Let's go out there. They say Atlanta's the place that's happening right now. Let's get out there. Let's shake some hands, kiss some babies. Let's meet these label reps. Let's see who's popping out there so we can get y'all popping,
Absolutely.
Somebody from Connecticut makes it, man. You know what I mean? You'll hear my name in their thank you speech when they win a Grammy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I want.
No, that's dope, man. And you know, like it's just in anything you need that. You know, you need to have folks that have had the experience and can mentor and help people make it, because a lot of the times, man, like especially like you think of an artist, right? These guys, man, they're phenomenal, artists, but when it comes to anything else, like it's just like it's like an athlete, right? Like some people make jokes and they say, I just watched an interview with Chris Rock from a while back. I think it was on Jimmy Fallon, and he said he was at the White House the last party they had with Obama and whatnot. I don't know if you guys saw this interview, but it's hilarious. And he said he's talking to Michelle Obama, and he says, I tell her, you be aight. And he's like, I'm telling the first lady, you be aight. And she goes, talking about the country, Chris. I'm not talking about me. And then he goes, my GED flared up. I don't know, right? So as he's talking, he says, so now I felt so stupid. I'm trying to find guys of the same caliber thinking as me. I said, where's the athletes at? But it's that mentality, these guys are great at what they do, but, they're not great at the business side or the promotion side or the marketing side. So it's great to have someone that has that experience and knows what to do to guide these people, because sometimes that's all they need, man. I mean, how much talent is lost, right? Because they just didn't know how. There's a ton of guys out there that are fucking nasty, man. There's guys out there that are disgusting. You hear their flow, you're like, holy shit, man, this guy's dope. But, they don't go out there and search for that mentor. Those people know how to do it, and they never make it. Then they're 39 and
that kind of sucks about Connecticut and the music scene is because, like, let's go back to sports, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're from Hartford and you want to play basketball, then you know the story of Marcus Camby,
right,
and Rick Mahorn, and Michael Adams, and my teammate in high school, Will Solomon, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just so many options that you have of looking at guys that really made it from this area that went to the NBA and did great things. NFL is a lot of an NFL. You know what I mean? From Dwight Freeney on, you know what I'm saying? That really made it, and then you get to baseball. Move on to, you know what I mean? So many people from Connecticut that made it, so that you have that as a blueprint. Like, I know such and such from such and such made it.
Right.
I know what he did to get there. I can do it too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't have that in music.
Yeah. There's a structure, and there. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't really count John Mayer when we're talking about hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So sure, he's from Connecticut, but I don't even know if he ever been to Hartford. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? It's just, you know what I mean? It'd be nice if somebody does make it, so that it's like when Obama, you brought up Obama. It's like when he became president. You know what I mean? It's just like, that's something. I could show my son one day, like, hey, little black boy. You know what I mean? You don't.
And they'd uplift.
You know what I mean? There is no ceiling for you. You know what I mean? One of us was the president of the United States. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, so get that out your mind. Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just need to see somebody that looks like you or from the same place as you or something like that become successful to really be like, he really did it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's really possible. And fortunately, in Connecticut, people are really thinking like, it's not possible. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody really make it. So once somebody finally, kicks in that door, we could be the next St. Louis. When Nelly came out, there's a flood of artists that from Chingy to all that just came right behind them because we didn't know there was talent in St. Louis.
Right.
When Drake came out, we didn't know there was talent in Toronto. You know what I mean? So then here comes The Weeknd, here comes Tory Lanez, here comes all these other artists, you know what I mean, that's from Toronto. Because we did not know there was talent there until Drake, broke the door open, and then now all eyes are out there. You know what I mean? So,
now, what do you think brought those extra guys out though? Like, after like Drake's out, and he was one in 10 million that was able to shoot through. What do you think happened after that to have the Tory Lanez and The Weeknd and all these other guys start popping out into the scene? Like, what do you think happened there?
The scene became the scene, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Because, as you said, there's so many talented guys here in Connecticut, right? You think somebody in California knows that? No, but if one of these guys from Connecticut really makes it to stardom and things like that, then people will really start to put their eyes on here. People from the industry, people from fans, like, oh, let me see who else I can find from Connecticut and things like that. Like, so I don't think any of those guys really did anything different. It's just the opportunities came about because there became opportunity because somebody from there made it. You know what I mean? The music industry is such a copycat business that, if somebody does something great, there's going to be a whole bunch of people that's coming behind them trying to find the next one to be that person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like there's so many people that's trying to find the next.
Well, in music, a lot of times tends to generate the avenue of trends. You know, it can in a lot of ways. Oh, somebody from Toronto's hot. Now everybody all of a sudden's going to Toronto for vacation.
Who's
and
the
now,
next Drake?
yeah,
You know what I'm
and
saying?
it's
Like,
all of a
they
sudden,
gonna look for the
tourism
next thing.
goes up. And so, yeah, it could
now,
change.
Now we hear, you ain't know that 10 years ago that Toronto was such a happening city.
Hot
and shit
place.
Like that. Like, it's cold as fuck. I don't even like hockey, man. Fuck Toronto. You know what I'm saying? But now we're like, yo, let's go to Toronto and stuff like that. Like, you kidding me? So, you know, can it happen for Connecticut? I hope it does. I really hope it does.
Well, let's wrap it up here. You know, obviously, I appreciate you coming out, man, and it's been
thank you for having me. Man.
It's been fun. I think everybody hopefully got something out of this. Big shout out, seriously, to everybody who's listened so far, supported us, guys. We are live across all platforms. We're live on YouTube. By live, I just mean we're posting the content, posting the pods. So we're on iTunes. You just go onto the iTunes podcast. It's free. It does not cost you anything. Look up Idiot Philosophers. It'll be right there. Subscribe, rate, review. You got to do all three for us to move up in the rankings and for people to be able to find us. So subscribe, rate, review. If you're having trouble with any of those, just close the app, refresh, whatever. Go into your iPad, try it on there. We're on Google. Just Google Play Store, just search, or I think it's Google Music now. I don't have a Samsung.
Yeah, it's like
Google
Play
Music,
yeah.
Google Play Music. Just search Idiot Philosophers. You'll find us there. Same thing on Spotify. And then for weirdos who don't have any of those, you can just go to buzzsprout.com and look us up there.
Yeah.
We're on there as well. So seriously, big shout out to all the listeners so far. But if you like what you've heard and you want more content, share us with somebody. Post something on your social media about it. You know, give us a review. If you give us a good review, maybe we'll read it out, give you a shout out next week on the pod.
Yeah, you guys are on Instagram as well. Give
Absolutely,
us your Instagram.
Instagram. We are idiot_philosophers on there as well.
Yep.
So
that's as well as the Twitter, I believe.
Same thing on Twitter. It's pretty much the same everywhere. We need some followers that aren't Russian cat spam bots. So let's hit up the Instagram, guys.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to thank you guys for having me because I feel like when you guys take off, let me say that again. I feel like when you guys take off, I can sit back and brag and say, hey, you know what?
Go.
To episode 3.
Yeah,
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
man.
Like episode 3 when we was in the basement when
That's
they
right.
had echoes and everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we was back then, before all the sponsors, before it was nationwide. You know what I mean? So I want to thank you guys for letting me grow with you. You know what I mean?
Dope. No,
You like
yeah,
how
definitely.
I just want to grow with you guys.
Yeah, man, I
you know what
definitely
mean?
appreciate it, G.
Especially
G's
you,
definitely
Easy
around,
E.
man.
Gangster.
Yeah, easy on the eyes, man. And just to leave you guys off, everybody out there, all the listeners, I'll do another quote from my man Jim Rohn. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And that's it, man.
Until next time, peace.